was like racing to hit my vape before the countdown ended. I was like, "Oh fuck, it's on the other side." What is up, guys? I am NYC Anime Nerd, and I'm joined by Broker and Nerd Taku. How are you guys? How's your week going?
Yeah, all good here. Father's Day tomorrow.
Dude,
Yeah,
next year's gonna be your first Father's Day, Taku.
I mean, I'm already counting this one. I'm
Yeah.
taking early. I'm taking
Yeah.
early W's.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this week has been pretty good. I had like a little bit of time off on Thursday, so
Nice.
I definitely got to have a nice little week off the heels of drill. So I'm chilling.
That's nice. That sounds nice. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy week all over the world. I hope everybody's safe, and we're gonna leave it at that. Um, but yeah, dude, I think the chapters and the anime, for that matter, have been like really peak lately. Like they've been at least 8.5, 9s out of 10 for me, and like that's like a My Hero Academia 37 out of 10. You know, like like that's that's like a Demon Slayer 5,000 out of 10. You know, like the writing has been so good, the story's crazy. It's really brought a whole new level to what's possible in on Blue Star, right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, Oda's on a generational run. He truly is. Like, I will say Elbaf was like, at first we were kind of like, I was wary of Elbaf just because like it started out weird with like Roto and like the whole like people in the Lego town type thing.
Yeah.
But I would say pretty much as soon as we got introduced to Loki, it's been pretty insane.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I I think that it's gone from like one end of the spectrum to like even deeper. Like I didn't think we were gonna get there. Like it was crazy before, like when we entered Elbaf and like, like just like it was really just like the animals and uh going through Elbaf and then how they arrived there through the portal to now where we get to like see some fighting. It's kind of everything you want in, as someone that likes One Piece. It makes you think. It's beautiful. You get some action in there. We're hitting like storylines. We're getting flashbacks that aren't dragging on. I think he's like really, really hitting some stuff. When I first read the chapter, well, I'll wait on that. All right, so here's my question, yes or no. Do you guys think Akiji is undercover for the Revs?
No.
I agree. I do not think he's undercover.
Only because I think he's undercover for somebody else. I definitely don't think he's actually allied with Blackbeard. If he would have allied with somebody like the Revs or even somebody like Shanks, I'd believe it. Like, oh, fair enough, he's found a new person. But he basically teamed up with, like the again, Ocean Hitler. It's Blackbeard is not a nice guy. Like, he's if you're going to choose somebody, you don't choose Blackbeard. If you're like, oh, wait, no, I feel disillusioned with the Marines, but Blackbeard, he's a guy who's got his head on his shoulders.
But what if we like get a flashback that like Garp is like, if you ever leave here, go find Dragon.
No, again, I would. Yeah, I would. Again, if we see that, then absolutely. But if that were the case, then why wouldn't he do it?
Who, Garp?
Yeah, if he's gonna send one of his proteges off, well, it's okay for you, but I'm definitely gonna stay here.
I don't think that Garp, with his notoriety, could do that. I don't.
Well,
I think that
it's no different for an admiral. Do you know what I mean? An admiral, a vice admiral. You know, just because Garp is more famous doesn't mean he's more valuable to the Marines.
no.
But
I think that he just couldn't. He couldn't do that, knowing what probably Blackbeard knows about, like, probably God Valley, all the stuff that had taken place, and him become trustworthy. Aokiji is someone who could defect from the Marines and be trustworthy in Blackbeard's eyes versus Garp. That's my whole thing. I don't believe it's true. I don't. But that's my piece on, like, why Garp couldn't do it himself.
I have an interesting take on this for later in what I think is going to be like the how the final fight, like with Emu, is actually going to balance out, as in how it's going to be separate but also similar to the fight against Blackbeard. Because I know everyone's big question now is, well, we know they're both end game fights, but who is the absolute end fight? Is it going to be Emu at the end or Blackbeard at the end?
yeah, it's I've definitely seen a lot of people talking about that.
I have a way to make them both equal-ish.
Well, without us spending too much time on it, does an end game boss have to be? Does the final boss have to be the last one? Like, can the stronger one
be earlier?
Yeah.
Oh, so it can, as long as it's a marathon fight. So what I'm saying is, let's say that Blackbeard is weaker than Emu. So Luffy defeats Emu, and then he has to fight Blackbeard. As long as Luffy gets no rest and no time to recover in between, then it's okay. However, if we're talking like it's one fight, and then 2 days later, after Luffy's had a big meal and he's all healed up, then he goes to fight Blackbeard, then it just feels a bit anticlimactic. It's like, we already know Luffy is stronger than this person because he beat the guy that's also stronger than Blackbeard. So it's anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I either that, or it could be a Kaido situation where the villain gets no rest, and they are just worn out over time. So you don't, like, because I still put Kaido above Luffy even at this very moment.
Same here, absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
Because I think that Kaido, he ran what I would say is a hell of a gauntlet.
Yeah, exactly.
And he did it, and he. We have to assume, obviously, there's no receipts for it, but we have to assume that he could have. He has the ability to go into an awakened form.
I would hope so. Yes.
Yeah, I would hope so as well. But I also like. If you stack up, I was just telling my wife this because we're in Wano and we're at the Onigashima raid, and I was like, Kaido is fighting so many people one after the other. He's holding up a whole fucking island, and then on top of that, which we'd imagine, I mean, he's using flame clouds. I'd imagine that has some effect. It's not just like he uses flame clouds.
Yeah, it's definitely
he's using flame clouds, something that his devil fruit produces, and he's maintaining them while they are moving the island. Like, it's the same credence that I give, Crocodile, because he made it so that in the entirety of Alabasta, no rain fell outside of them using dance powder. And the minute he gets beaten, all of a sudden it finally rains.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is like a huge upscale for Crocodile, but it also makes sense because even Oda said that he's upset that he introduced him so early into the show because of how much he likes Crocodile and how strong Crocodile seemingly should be, considering he's still in the story.
His popularity probably has a lot to do with that as well.
I was going to say that.
When you have such a popular character, you don't want them to be a puss.
Yeah, you shut your mouth. Crocodile's a G.
Yeah, but he's not like a heavy glaze character. Like, he's popular because for like all the right reasons.
Yeah, he's niche popular. He's not law, you know.
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. So so the chapter was crazy.
Yes.
Broker, I'll give you 2 minutes to gloat.
Oh,
You got 2 minutes
yes. Oh,
to just,
I have
to
this
just go
covered.
in.
Yes. Again, I don't need. I feel now is the time to tell you both. Yes, I am Oda.
Yeah.
I am. Sorry, I'm one of the Odas. There's actually an entire like group of us now.
Yeah, is there like it's
I
like you're
figured.
one of the satellites?
No, it's again. It's you know what it is. It's because before this, again, in the time prior to my bringing on as Oda, there was other Odas before me, and they were all Japanese, as you'd think. And then I basically said, we never get to see Oda's face. Why does Oda need to be Japanese? And that's it. Now there are Odas of all faiths.
Wait, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Is it?
Your mic is messed
your
up.
mic's gone.
Because that's
Yeah.
That's I'm so sorry.
You sound like a robot.
Yeah.
No, I mean this is a huge W for you. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
I know.
Like,
It's great. It's great. Again, if I was a little bit right, it'd be good. I was almost like panel to panel right about that. It's 2 years ago. 2 years, more than 2 years.
listen, you're taking a huge W. Once we get the God Valley flashback and we find out that it is a piece of Thriller Bark, I'm gonna be on that same generational run.
So you should be. Again. So the only thing I will claim if I'm right about Thriller, but I'm not Thriller, about God Valley is if Dragon was there as a Marine.
Yeah. Which I don't doubt that one. That one seems like a pretty safe bet.
I think that was Dragon's first and last day, and that the reason Ivankov is allied with him and so is Kuma is because he was basically the Marine that just like turned his back. It's like, yeah, I don't see them over here, guys. They're definitely not over here in this corner, and that's when they obviously then go and escape. And
it would be really.
Yeah, I think that was Dragon's first and last day as an admiral. First and last day.
One thing that would be really interesting, especially for that, is if Dragon was the one that found where Kuma was using his paw fruit to launch people away.
Or I have the reverse of that, where Dragon tells them to use it. It's like, literally, it's like, look, it's go here. It's about a mile this way. You can hide there. I'll meet you afterwards. Something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. My power just literally went out for a second. That's so weird that there was like that delay.
Yeah, your mic sounds great now.
Yeah.
So
what did I miss?
If it was Broker gloating.
Broker gloating?
No, actually it wasn't. It was I was glazing Taku. I was glazing Taku too.
Yeah, no, we were talking about the W's. Like me, I feel like I'm gonna take a huge W once we get to like where Thriller Bark is God Valley. But I will say there was one, and this is gonna make me sound crazy. There was one thing in this chapter that made me go, "Oh, I'm right about something," that I made a video about. I want to say it might have been like 2 years ago. So when Chopper and Gaban are falling, Chopper runs on air like Luffy does. And Luffy is able to tell that it's Chopper, not because he's using like the voice of all things, which a lot of people have been saying, because if he was able to use the voice of all things, he would have known that the other person falling with him was the old man that they were fighting earlier. I think it's specifically because Chopper is tapping into his God fruit to essentially do something similar to Luffy, like a Toon Force thing.
That. And I love it, and I'll tell you why I love it when I come to the Emu Gauntlet sort of thing later. But I love that. It's not the same as mine, but it's close enough anyway.
So like, yeah, go ahead.
No. I just like I think that Chopper, I think since kind of the end of Egghead, Chopper started to get like a slow, there's been like a slow turn, kind of like, so when Saturn touched down and like he was one of the ones that like
noticed.
yeah, noticed. And like he noticed that, I'm pretty sure it was before Robin, you know, like before like 90% of the crew. And like I think that was like a little hint. I'm still on my horse of that this is Brooks' arc, you know.
Yeah.
I think I really think he's going to awaken. But finish your theory, because I'm not gonna start in because I won't stop. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is like we're gonna get to see, you know, and it may not even be this arc, because there's just been like subtle hints here and there, over and over again, that Chopper it has a god fruit. Like the fact that we have no other human models that are just normal humans, or even like anything other than deities, like it doesn't make any sense that someone would, unless you're taking the hopes and dreams of animals and making them into human fruits that are just regular human fruits. And like Chopper just doesn't have the depiction of even a normal human, because a normal human can't turn into like 7 different forms. You know, it doesn't make sense.
Remember that is something, because that's because of his rumble balls, though. That's not just what Chopper can do. That's as far as we know so far, that is a rumble ball exclusive.
But he doesn't even post time skip. He doesn't use his rumble balls to turn into his transformations anymore. He only uses the rumble ball to turn into Monster Point.
Yeah, I thought but he said that he's treated himself underline with them during the time skip. I thought it was so that whatever chemical he needs to do it is now always in his system as at least as one, a singular. But then he needs to take an extra one to push him above. Because remember, previously it was 3 rumble balls to turn into Monster Point. Now it's 1.
Yeah,
so he still does need it to some degree.
So it's funny you say that, because I was recently like looking at a timeline of Chopper, because I was like curious, what if you know, like the like what if it's, you know, like the green solution that the
Seraphim.
the Seraphim use. Like what if Chopper found like kind of like a stable way to use them, you know, like
green blood.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting, considering Caesar was the one who gave him, after considering like he uses like smiles, knows a lot about lineage factors, that sort of thing, and he was able to enhance the rumble balls to last, what is it, 10 minutes?
10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it would be interesting. But yeah, I just think that him being like, I think there's always the possibility, but you know, this goes all the way back to like when people found out that Luffy's fruit was different. They started the series over, went through and just like I recounted every time where there was even subtle foreshadowing. And one of the biggest ones was the cover of Fishman Islands arc, where it had Luffy, and then it had Chopper next to him, and then it had the quintuplets over them, and the one named Nika was above Luffy, and above the one that was named Nika is the sun. So it literally shined in like a perfect order. And if you look, the one that is named Sanka, which would be the forest god, is right above Chopper. And I'm like, to me, I don't know, it's kind of a done deal. He's the only fruit. He's the only character one that just has a regular human fruit, which should have a model to it. But on top of that, you have the fact that his devil fruit was sought after by Blackbeard. That's why he went to Drum Island. I think he was trying to find a god fruit, either for one of his crew or for himself, to be his second fruit before he took the Gura Gura. But even then, he also wanted Ace's Flame fruit. But then on top of that, it's the only fruit that isn't a fruit. It's a mushroom, and mushrooms grow in the forest. Like it literally, like, to me, it's a done deal.
Mushrooms grow freaking everywhere. Believe me.
Well,
Jesus.
yeah, but like that's where the majority of them. When you think mushrooms, you think forest. You don't think like my shoe that I left outside for too long.
Well, yeah, actually, because the majority of mushrooms actually grow in like sewer systems. That's where you'll find the overwhelming majority.
You think the overwhelming majority of mushrooms?
Oh yeah. Just so you have to remember. So the way
I don't know if it's the majority, but I will say that I think when that might be true, but I think Broker, like, what he means, like, most people when they think of mushrooms, like, not everybody has the knowledge you have. Most people.
Oh, you mean like sort of mushrooms you eat and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. I thought you meant like on the planet. I was going to say, so they're the ones with the most mycelium, but in terms of just like pure numbers, oh god, you go underground anywhere where it is mildly moist and warm, and you will be wall to wall mushrooms.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about, like, like you see them mostly in nature outside of like people who have niche jobs or drug dealers who are trying. I was
just about to say that.
Which is actually really interesting considering basically Chopper is a
drug dealer. He got that rumble pack, yo.
It all matches up. But yeah, no, I definitely think that this chapter, to me, the fact that Luffy, being the sun god, is noticing Chopper and is like, even he's like, man, how did I know that? Like,
right.
What do you think differentiates the Nika fruit versus Chopper's one in terms of their abilities?
So, when I made my video, I made it because of Chopper's dream, and like the fact that the forest god, like in a lot of different myths and stuff like that, is named, I think it's Cernunnos. Yep. It's like a fertility and life god that, basically it was able to heal like a lot of the animals.
So this is this is where ours will differ then, only because that everything so far is up to that. So only because you think it's like a god fruit, I think it's more part of the angelic pantheon. So like, the archangels and stuff like that, as almost the opposite to. So obviously Emu is going to have lots of demons on his crew. Luffy has an angel.
Nerd, before you get back into yours, can I ask you? I just want to clarify something with you. When you say god fruit, like so we had the talk where you brought up like the primordial fruits. Yes. Are you talking about literally like one of the god fruits that they've, how we know about, we've seen, or do you mean like a primordial?
I mean both. So like when they talk about the gods in Skypiea, they they talk about the rain god, forest god, earth god, and the sun god. So I think
it's not the rain god. I think it's the sea god. Is it? Or is it the rain god?
I'm pretty sure it's rain.
Oh no, it is the rain. It is the rain god. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Chopper is the forest god, and I think that it would make sense, especially to give him that fruit, because if it's modeled after Cernunnos was like a half, like deer, half man type looking creature, which would make sense for Chopper, and their power was to commune with animals, which Chopper does. And then on top of that, it was to control the flora and fauna of a selected area in the forest that provides healing to the animals that were hunted by man. And so, like,
if you remember Jack, like when he did heal all the minks and stuff when Jack went hunting them.
Yeah. And there was also, I think it was a deer mink that was quite fond of him. Yes.
The doctor's assistant.
Well, no, Wanda was the dog that was under Dogstorm, but
Oh, is it? Oh,
it
yes, you
was
are right. Yeah, yeah.
it was the dear doctor, like, or dear
Yeah.
nurse or whatever. But it would also very much align with Chopper's um time skip, because when he was there, he was at a giant tree. He communed with both the humans and the animals and created peace among them. But not only that, they used all types of flora and fauna in their like medicines to be able to treat. And that's what he studied for 2 years.
Yep.
And for him to be able to control that, he would be able to create every medicine possible, basically, to cure any disease. It would literally fall directly in line with his dream. So to me, makes all the sense in the world. I truly believe that. And honestly, it would give Chopper a much needed boost, in my opinion, to get him to where he needs to be on this Yonko crew. Not to mention, I mean, it would elevate him so much, in my opinion, to be able to go back to Wano or go to any of these places and be able to cure these people who most definitely deserve to be cured, and yet he somehow fumbled the bag and wasn't able to. He was able to cure the Isoni virus, but that's because there were already antibodies. So he's lacking in the department of healing.
Yeah.
And for a doctor, that's everything. So considering it's his dream, I feel like he needs this to be able to do that.
That would be a nice epilogue for him as well, for like when we're seeing like the 10 years later, whatever it is, in the very, very, very final chapter of One Piece, when all is said and done. It'd be nice to see Chopper literally being like his mentor was, where they literally they go from place to place healing all the sick people in the area.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, so I think that, to me, this, I don't know, maybe because I'm self-glazing so hard, but this chapter to me seems like it confirmed it even more for me.
Yeah.
And I know there's a dude on TikTok. His name is Monkey D. Quell. I follow him. He is a huge proponent of Chopper being the forest god, and he goes into even more myths than I did in my video about like why Chopper is the forest god and stuff like that. He even uses like a bunch of Aztec myths and stuff like that to back up his point. But yeah, it to me, this solidifies it. I don't know if we're gonna see it this chapter or this arc. I think it would be really cool if we did see it, considering it would be great to see like Chopper commune with like nature, and like the biggest tree ever being the Atom Tree.
Yeah.
And that would be really sweet, but I don't know if we get that yet, just because I feel like something else would need to happen. I feel like that would be a detriment, and maybe this whole thing will trigger it, because the way that Chopper was like locked the fuck in when he saw Gabon using this power to affect the God's Knights, maybe that's the start of it. But we'll just have to wait and see, because again, I do think this is Brook's arc, but we're getting a lot of Straw Hat.
Can you repeat that? Because I could have
listen.
I haven't had my 2 minutes to gloat yet. You wait your turn.
No, but I do think that, like, I think Elbaf is going to be just a very Straw Hat Glaze sesh when it comes down to it, because I think that everyone is going to get their moment to shine. I think that we've gotten a lot of Brook heavy focus. We're now getting some Chopper heavy focus. I do believe that we will get some Usopp focus, but I think overall, I don't know if there's going to be a star. I'm gonna keep it a stack. I don't think that there's going to be like this is one person's arc.
That is true, because if like, they do have to start kind of as strong as the Luffy, Zoro, Sanji are. They do got to start buffing them, like the rest of the crew, and continue to buff those three to like go up against, you know, Endgame, you know, and you know, yeah, I just I hope it is. I think they need some love. I also like that for the, you know, for the first time in a long time, I thought we were gonna get all of them together somewhere, you know, for a while.
Oh, you fool!
Listen, a boy can dream, right? A boy can dream. I just I don't know. I miss those days, you know. You know, we don't get too much. Like they're always split, you know.
Because they'd be overpowered. It's like the put it this way: the last time we ever really saw them all act as one with one goal was at Thriller Bark when they easily took down Oz. Like in this character that had been one-shotting everybody, you know, that was easily the strongest we'd ever seen to that point. The second all the Straw Hats work together, it's very easily resolved.
Yeah, you get one per arc.
Yeah,
One per arc where you have a moment where they all are together and then they dissipate. It happens every arc. You had, you know, you have the only arc that I don't think got that was no, that's not true. 3 arcs because we got Dressrosa, Whole Cake, and Zoe all were them being split. We had like really great meetups in Wano.
Mhm.
There's like, especially when they hit like the what was it, the live floor where they all like kind of formed up like they were a full-on crew, and then 10 seconds later they were all split again. So like you always get that moment like Fishman Island where they all like sync up and they're all like, yo, we're about to beat the cheeks off of the bad guy. And you know, after that, it's like they all just split anyway. And you're just like, damn, dude, like I just want to see that. I want to see combo moves. Give me combo moves.
Exactly. I want
Show me how you guys work together.
They get on board the Sunny, you know, just before Onigashima, and then immediately upon arriving, all right, guys, split up and look for clues. You know, it's
yeah. Luffy goes ahead. Zoro says, "Hey, I'm gonna follow him so he doesn't do anything stupid," and they're all like, "Oh my god, he's gonna do something stupid too."
Yeah.
And then they do.
Yep.
And then then all of a sudden they have this really great moment where they're like all on the live floor, and you're like, damn, they like formed up like they're the damn Ginyu Force, and you're like, they're about to just destroy everyone. And then they're like, okay, I'm gonna head to the rooftop. You're like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like
that's so funny. Speaking of, did you see the picture I posted in my story? It's the Oval Office. It's all the Gorosei and Trump sitting there.
Dude, yeah. I could see it.
Dude, it looked like a real photo. It was actually hilarious. That's what made me laughing. But so what are you guys feeling about like the Othello game? You know, like because it's not the first time Othello's been brought up. You know, like the CP agent, you know, was playing it when in Kaido's like back rooms.
So it could be one of two things, and
he's got 2 different colored eyes. I just want to throw that out. Yeah,
you're talking about Guernica.
Yeah, the bowler hat guy.
Guernica.
Yeah, something like that. Hey, I don't think you can say that. But
what, Nika? No.
Whoa, he said it again.
Whoa.
Yo, do you guys want to have it next week or do you want to cancel it?
No, but I think it's interesting because I thought when they first took over Broggy, when they flipped him, I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. It's almost like when you play checkers and you get like your one to the other side and then they have to king it, you flip it over and then they put one on top. I was like that, and it makes sense because it's like they flip him over and then he manages to be like double the size. Another thing that I was thinking was actually 2 things. One, I thought it'd be really funny and I mentioned this, I think, in my live stream for 1150. I'm like, imagine Luffy like gets up there and sees all this and sees somebody flip and then goes over to them like the zombies in Thriller Bark and pushes them down and just flips the ground himself and flips them back and is like, oh, you're good now. Like,
That's so funny.
I was like, that'd be really funny. And it would actually, like, could you imagine just Emu getting super pissed off and just being like, stop flipping my pieces back? Like, I was like, that would be really funny. But the other thing was, since I'm rereading Wano, I saw it was the numbers. They are they're like regular humans that I think it was Caesar or Vegapunk. They said they originally came from Punk Hazard. They were trying to make ancient giants, and they have horns and stuff like that, and they look kind of crazy. A lot of them look really goofy looking. But I'm like, is this how ancient giants are made? Like we've seen some giants that just have horns naturally, but this flipped them, and these guys got horns even though they weren't ancient giants. So I'm like, is there like some sort of ritual to create ancient giants? You know?
Didn't one of the giants when they were, this is a fair few chapters ago now, when they were talking about why some giants have horns or not, before obviously we meet Scappa Gaban with Luffy and that, don't they say it's just a heritage thing? It's like a recessive gene where, you know, centuries ago there were ancient giants, and now that's why some do and some don't have them in the modern day.
Yes, so they did say that, but
I think two things can be true. You know, I don't think that.
That's what I was going to say.
Sorry, so you still believe it can be passed on genetically once you're
flipped.
Yeah, got you. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, so like,
interesting.
Yeah, especially because like, imagine, all right, so you have King Harold, who was an ancient giant, and he ripped out his own horns, but now people are like, well, maybe he was Dami reversied, and that's why he turned against. But I'm like, if they flipped him over, does he have horns now after he ripped them out? Like, you know, what if it's the act of doing something like a ritual to become an ancient giant, and then you just have to overpower the dark side of you to maintain it?
So we don't know that he also didn't tear his own wings off. Do you know what I mean? As in, just because no one was around to see it doesn't mean he didn't do it.
Or what if that's how he was brought back?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking again. So whether or not it's this happens in a movie, a famous movie. It's like, oh, I can't think what it is now. So it's like sci-fi, I believe, where like they tear their own arms off or something so they can't hurt somebody.
I don't know. I remember in Dogma, they
I've got it. Sorry, I've got it. It's Hellboy. It's Hellboy, where he tears his own horns off.
He does do that.
Yes, there you go. Which again, he's a devil. So again, maybe it is literally that, you know, cliche almost.
Yeah, it's just brought up a lot of questions. It also brings up a lot of questions about Oars and you know, his genetics and even Little Oars Jr. I don't know. It's
and Kaido for me. It brings up also Kaido for me, like, just like his lineage.
Yeah, I mean, and that would even bring Yamato into it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. That's. Sorry, go
Listen,
on.
I'm a huge proponent of Kaido is one of the three sons of Harold, because that would be so good.
I think that I really hope that's all but confirmed, because I think anything else now that isn't that won't quite fit.
Yeah.
What if, like, when you get born with horns, like that being a recessive trait, you can also be like born evil, you know, like, you know how they say like people aren't born evil, and that's why like we didn't see them, like we don't know if he's, one of the sons. And so
That would
like
be
because we
that would
don't
be
we
interesting.
yeah, we don't really know anything about, like who's, like what if Kaido's kind of a story like got kicked out of Elbaf because he couldn't control, like like succumbed to his vices basically, and maybe that's why, like what if alcohol's like one of his vices? Like what if he drinks, you know?
Well, so I don't think that Kaido has ever gone to Elbaf, and this is why. I think that Harold had this child out of
At
like wedlock,
wedlock
basically.
makes sense.
Or even, I mean, technically he would have had to cheat on his Loki's mom to have Kaido, because they're, I think, only like, what is it, 3 or 6 years apart or something like that. But it would be interesting if, like, while Harold was out doing, like, let's just say a goodwill mission or whatever,
Yeah.
trying to see the world because he wanted to basically open up trade, he found somebody, and then, so on and so forth. Did the horizontal shuffle, and
Yeah.
then he left thinking, oh, whatever. And then, Kaido was born, because Kaido was born, I forget what kingdom they said, but it was like kind of like a war-torn place, and that's why he was like hired by the kingdom and then given to the world government to be a navy officer because he was just so strong. And then he deserted and became, part of Rox's crew, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I would love one, because I think Loki, I don't know. Loki is slowly creeping his way into my top 5.
It's
Just because I love the way he acts. I do. It's very, very like reminiscent of characters that I like in other animes and stuff like that. And his reaction at the end of this chapter just made me go, "Oh, this guy's like that."
He's built different.
Because everyone else is freaking out, and he's like, "What a preposterous hockey! Looks like you're gonna need me." Like, that to me, like it's screaming like this guy is built different.
And
And
he
I
said that
really,
well.
I was actually going another way with it, as like almost like a comedic way, where I thought what would be quite funny is all Loki was doing was reacting to everyone else reacting to the Haki. And it's like, oh, they're reacting to saying, oh yeah, guys, there's a really powerful Haki up there, isn't it? Making himself almost sound like prophetic, where it's like he's just blagging it. He's just trying to like convince everyone to let him go. No, you definitely need me. That Haki up there, it's super strong. You need me.
the way I read it was just like, yo, like something's going down up there, and you're definitely gonna need my help because you guys can't do this.
Making that statement, well, he's still bleeding out, to make that statement,
He's
and he's
patched
like,
up.
you guys need me in this condition, and I think that's kind of been like Loki's been a really good slow burn, like when he makes his move, I think it is going to be
See, my only thing against
epic.
it is that I'm kind of bored's the wrong word. I'm kind of exasperated with the trope that every time there is a new island, there is somebody ridiculously strong. It's like the Straw Hats are only visiting, right? They're only visiting a tiny fraction of all the islands that exist, okay? It seems that every time they're doing it, there is this new, super ridiculously strong person that's stronger than like a good 60% of the Straw Hat crew at this point. When that was just Shanks being there on his own, that was one thing. But now it's not only Shanks who was only there a few days ago. Now it's also Loki, who's also ridiculously strong. I don't mind him being strong, but when it's like, if he's going to be like, let's say, rivaling the monster trio, it's just another person it's another pebble on the long road between now and the final chapter.
I agree with you. Like every island, yeah, but like if they went to an island and there wasn't like a strong person there.
No. Because remember, so it wasn't that they were there to be. It's not about them not being on the island eventually. It's about the fact that they're always there before the Straw Hats even arrive. Like if it would have been Emu taking over the Gods Knights, exactly everything that passed on now, then it would be someone from outside of Elbaf that's now on Elbaf that is really, really, really strong. That I'm okay with, because again, you still need an opponent to be like to challenge the crew to be there, because otherwise the arc's kind of pointless. But
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but
the fact that they're always there regardless.
Well, yeah. I mean, go ahead.
No. It's all you.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the point, is like we're following the main character. I mean, there were so many other times where like other characters, I mean, look at what happened with Law. You know, he showed up on an island and Blackbeard just so happened to be there. Someone who's ridiculously strong, you know, was there, and then they came into conflict. Look at, you know, Kid, look at Garp. Like they've all landed on islands.
Kid went looking, and Law, again, we've only ever seen really 3 islands that Law has ever visited, right? And that Sabodi, that is Wano, and the island after Wano with like you say, when he meets Blackbeard.
Yeah,
but
Winter Island.
That's 3 out of what? How many different islands we've been to with the Straw Hats now? 20, 25?
But they've all been to islands where they've had conflicts. We know that they've had such conflicts. We've seen, look at you know, Bonnie. She was on an island and Blackbeard showed up after Marineford and locked her up, and then Akainu got her. Like there's a case in point of someone who found someone strong and got their shit kicked in, you know. And then, you know, you also have like what was it? Kid also went to Big Mom's Island and then, you know, only managed to get away after, you know, beating one of the sweet commanders out of the 4 at the time. And then, you know, same with your Rouge. Like the problem is like the New World is just full of monsters and they're strong people.
That's my question. This is my do you think that there are equally strong people on all these other islands that we just haven't visited yet, or do you think it's coincidence?
No, I don't think it's coincidence, because they're going to these islands for certain reasons, right? There's going to be strong people on islands where there's poneglyphs. There's going to be strong people on islands where, you know, like something like Elbaf, like a special land, you know, that has history, like where they're not headed to like random islands. They're headed to islands that all top tier pirates need to go at some point, or have been, or there's history there. So it's not like he's going to random islands and like, oh hey, like this one happens to, you know, like they all have some history that connects them to either like, you know, like some type of mission that needs to be done.
But aren't the what do you call it? The log poses, an element to those is randomness, because back in the even before when we're still on Paradise, the islands they go to, remember the Straw Hats wouldn't have gone those. The Straw Hats skipped that and used the Eternal Pose to go to Alabasta. So they skip loads of islands they should have been to.
Well, that's not necessarily true. It is true that they should have gone in order, but they went in order up until Chopper's Island.
I thought they said that it would have taken them over a year to get to Alabasta just by following the normal log pose. Because they find that out on in what's Chopper's arc called? But Drum Island. They find that out on Drum Island, which is why they then choose to use the Eternal Pose, which is the one they got from Robin when she leaves it behind. Because before that they weren't going to, remember. They went from what's the island place with atoll that dinosaurs on? Little Garden. No, sorry, no, it was on.
Yes.
Sorry, no, it was on Little Garden. And then the only reason they then went to the next island where Chopper was is because they were looking for a doctor. So because it's I
Yeah.
think it's Dory and Broggy that say, oh no, if you're just going to follow the the log pose from here, like as the crow flies, following the log pose, that's going to take you over a year to get there.
I want to say big they didn't use the log pose after Little Garden because they were trying to reset the log pose because they said it would take, what was it? I think it was 3 years to set
Oh, is
to
it 3
the
years? Yeah, is it?
Well, no, because like once you get to an island, the magnetic like field of that island takes like random amounts of time to like take your log pose and then catch the next island's magnetic like signature to be able to guide you. And they're like, oh, it's no big deal, it'll take 3 years. And then they're like, well, we can't wait around for 3 years. So then Vivi's like, either Vivi has it or one of the Baroque Works members, I forget which, but they're like, hey, like there's already an Eternal pose, like we don't have time to wait around here. So then I think that they go straight to Alabasta, and like you said, they go to Chopper's Island to find a doctor and so on and so forth. But like if they would have stayed on Little Garden for 3 years,
this is what I meant. Sorry, that's being big 3. It was 3 years. What I'm saying is that they didn't use the normal pose system in order to get there the normal way. They skip it, exactly like you say, because otherwise, does that mean that of all the people that went up Reverse Mountain, does that mean all of them didn't wait the 3 years? Do you know what I mean? I think the problem is we still know very, very, very little about the pre-time skip geography, where like sometimes this is a rule, but then also isn't the rule that of all the 4 different blues, they all lead to Reverse Mountain, don't they?
So I think they do all lead to Reverse Mountain, but I think it's like it when they show, which like isn't, I guess, a great representation, but when they show the Worst Generation, they show basically like, hey, all these people made it to Sabaody at the same time, but they've all had vastly different starting points. And so they like just go on whatever trail that their log post leads them on. So it doesn't
left at very different times. Like Arouge has been at sea the longest because Arouge has been at sea since he was a young man and he's now in his 50s.
Yeah, so like they've all, like they said, you know, they all have had different starting points, especially because they all started in a different blue and then they made their way to Reverse Mountain and through and, you know, did their whole thing. But, you know, I wouldn't say that like one thing is better than the other. I mean, like I said, Kid and Law, and like Law right out of Marineford after he went there, he went to Blackbeard's or Beehive Island and helped helped Blackbeard and Kobe basically destroy Wang Xi and take over Beehive. And that was the whole Rocky Port incident where he took 100 pirates' hearts or whatever and basically became a warlord.
Never to be seen.
Never to be seen. You will only hear about it in SBSs. Just like Kid's backstory is so meaningless, you got it in like one sentence, you know, like, and you'll never see that either. So it's like, you know, all of these people have, in my opinion, faced adversity. I mean, look at what happened to some of the other Worst Generation members. They got their ass beat so hard that they had to fall under Yonko just to maintain relevance. They went against people that they couldn't even fucking tough it out against, and they had to bend the knee.
So you think that the reason the Straw Hats are where they are now, above the rest of the Worst Generation, obviously Blackbeard excluded from this, is because they've had so much more adversity, because the islands they've come across have just had much stronger guys on than the other people, like Law, like Kid and stuff.
I think that is true, but I also think that it comes down to what adversity Luffy has faced, because think about it. All the other Worst Generation members went straight into the New World from Sabaody. They didn't do a 2-year time skip. They went straight into conflicts where they had not the skills that it would take to succeed in the new world. And I think that's why most of them got their ass kicked and had to work under Yonko.
I agree.
You know, Luffy had the ability to be trained by one of the greatest pirates to ever do it. And then on top of that, then he went and faced adversity. Like, in all honesty, though, most of the people that Luffy has gone against in the very beginning were chumps, dude. Hody, Caesar, of them.
What about Smoker,
chumps.
Dude? Smoker
chumps again.
S tier, dude. S tier.
Dude, Dofi put the hands on him and all of his boys in like seconds.
Yes.
Like, and then the only person that could stop him was Aokiji. And even he was like, dude, I do not care that you are an ex-Navy admiral. I'm about to kill this man. And went to do it. He just got froze.
See, I will stand by the fact that I am convinced that the only people that really want to glaze Smoker are people that really lack that sort of like parental figure in their lives. Don't you talk that way about my dad? My dad's amazing. Yeah, he's grey haired. He doesn't really do much in the military, but he's my dad. You know, it's that sort of thing.
He smokes 2 cigars at once. Have you ever done that?
Yeah. And yet, it's almost like a Chuck Norris joke, but instead of Chuck Norris, you've got Smoker.
Yeah, only he's never roundhoused anybody. He's just gotten beat up by Virgo.
Exactly.
Smoker is so strong, he smokes two cigars at a time just to give cancer a fighting chance. Something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, dude, yeah, I'll tell you what, Smoker is probably the most underwhelming character that actually has been introduced and had like actual development, and just like nothing came from it, because
his most recent feat is being basically like a what do you call it, like a childminder, like a babysitter. It's like, just I'm going to take these giant children from point A to point B.
Yeah, he's a glorified Uber.
What's the guy's name on Sword? The newest, basically like the new, that guy with the devil fruit.
Prince Gruss.
What?
Prince Gruss, the one with the clay devil fruit?
Thank you. Yeah.
That dude has more aura than Smoker.
No, seriously, I think he's gonna be like, I think like he's definitely gonna come back and play a part. Like, you know, I'm excited to hold on, Broker. Hold on. I'm excited to, and I also want to hear about what you guys think. But like, I'm like really curious about what's going on outside of Elbaf right now.
Absolutely.
You know, like because I do want to know. I don't know if it's happening, but the thought obviously is in my mind because of when they entered Elbaf. But like how time is moving out there, you know, what's going on, you know, like we've, you know, like we're pretty much stuck in Elbaf right now with no news, you know. And I'm just like, you know, the deeper this gets, the deeper I'm like, what's going on outside of Elbaf right now? Because usually the like bigger, like we're seeing a lot of stuff that could mean power-ups for Straw Hats, right? Like the Chopper thing, Brook, possibly Usopp. And usually when that's happening, people are getting stronger outside of them, you know. Usually the rest of the world, you know, they gotta keep them up with them because Luffy was already about to pack everybody up.
Yeah. I'm telling you right now, Crocodile is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Katakuri is going to be tough. He's not like, these are people that like I don't think that are going to get hit with the crazy power cliffing that normally happens in shonen. You know, I think Yamato will be tough.
Yeah. I mean, outside of Cross Guild, because we kind of know what they're up to right now, what do you think's happening? Like,
I think that Shanks is, if I was a betting man, and I saw someone had this theory that was really interesting, that Shanks and Dragon are working together to to cause that whole situation that they're having right now with the Sea of Fire in Marie Joie. I think it would be interesting. Someone was like, it's the second coming of
It makes sense.
Of Roger and Garp. Only this time, instead of at God Valley defending celestial dragons, it's them destroying the celestial dragons. Shanks would be the Roger, and then Dragon would be the Garp. And it's like the sign of them righting the wrongs that their masters have basically sown. So I think that would be interesting, but I don't know. For some reason, I think Shanks is trying to find Blackbeard still.
Yeah, that's my take.
But didn't he say, let's go find the One Piece after he shot the...
It was when they were in Wano.
Yeah,
they said, let's go find the One Piece.
Yeah,
when he took down the tree end.
Yeah.
Green Bull.
Yeah,
they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like Blackbeard's looking for the One Piece as well, so they're probably going to meet up just by association eventually.
Yeah. So the thing that is crazy to me is and I don't think it was ever actually discussed. Okay, so apparently, which I don't remember this being in the manga, but apparently it was. I don't know. Don't quote me on this. This is someone else telling the story basically, but I'm just regurgitating.
I can't wait.
Kid, when he was at Big Mom's and he beat Snack, or maybe he got packed up by Snack. I don't remember what he did. I know. I'm pretty sure Yaruj beat Snack, but then got no diffed by Cracker. But when he was in Big Mom's territory, he was able to get a copy of her Poneglyph.
Yeah.
So that means Kid has Big Mom's Poneglyph. Then he also got the Wano Poneglyph. So he had 2 Poneglyphs. That means that he was still missing Zoe and whatever one was at Fishman Island that is gone. He's got 2 out of 4. Law was on Zoe, but he wasn't in Whole Cake Island. So that means that Law had Zoe's and Wano's, but not Whole Cake Islands, unless he was able to copy it from what the Straw Hats did, which I don't know if
Luffy gives it to him. Luffy gives it to him, so all 3 make it so that they all have the same 3 poneglyphs. That's right at the end of Wano. Yeah, it's right at the end.
I thought that he only gave them a copy of Wano's poneglyph.
No, they specifically say that they all they're now all equal. They now all share the same 3.
Oh yeah.
Okay, then that just means that basically when Shanks no diffs Kid, he takes 3.
Yeah.
And so when I'm guessing Law gets not no diff, it was like mid diff ish.
I wouldn't say even mid diff, dude.
I would say mid. I mean, it wasn't super hard for Blackbeard, but Blackbeard at least
not
took
a real
Law
blazer, dude. You're not a real Law. Law wasn't even trying, bro.
Listen. I can tell you right now, and I told my wife this last night. I'm like, Law needs to join a crew that actually fucking works.
Exactly.
At least Beppo went Sulong. Like I saw Shachi and Penguin in the water, and they're like known for being like half fishmen, or at least being like on par with swimming and attacking like fishmen. Yeah. And somehow they didn't sink like the 5 like wooden planks that is Blackbeard's ship. That's easy money, and what happens when you take the ship away from a devil fruit reliant crew? They got nothing. But anyway, so trust me, I'm a Law glazer, but I'm also a Law realist because I try not to be biased. If you want me to tell it in my Law way, dude, Law would have easy diffed if he would have had one competent person on there. He could have definitely taken Blackbeard had he not had a teleport fruit guy, because he was about to fall in the water.
No, I hear what you're saying. I was just fucking with you, but yeah.
But that means that Blackbeard, Shanks, and Luffy are all on equal footing.
Yeah.
So which is literally the race to the last poneglyph at this point.
See, and that's why to bring it back to kind of the chapter and Emu and stuff, that's why I don't think Emu's gonna be the final boss. Or I mean,
Agreed.
why Black? Oh yeah, like he might be the strongest, but I think like there's gonna be like a real fucking brawl, you know?
Yeah.
See, I want Emu to be the final boss.
Me too.
I can make us all agree on something. Maybe not on the how, but just here's a theory on how I think it will go. I think that the fight against Emu will be against it. So it'll be Emu versus Luffy, Dragon, and Garp on a 3v1. So the Blackbeard fight will be at the end, and the fight will be harder for Luffy because it's a one-on-one now. But whereas if Luffy would have gone one-on-one against Emu, he would have been cooked. But at least, because I think it's going to go back to, again, like we talked, so obviously we've got Satan now, right? We've got Emu as Satan. We've got Luffy as like the One Piece Jesus, where like he rose again and blah, 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 all that stuff. Like maybe he hasn't walked on water yet, but he has walked on air. So, and I think it's going to be...
He's not that far away from walking on water.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be the Father, the Son, and Luffy as the Holy Spirit in terms of like the what's the Trinity, and that's how it will go. That we'll have the Holy Trinity versus.
I don't think so. That's like too religious. I don't think he'll go there.
Well, no, we literally have Satan now, yeah, in everything but name, and we've had pentagrams. A pentagram is equally as religious as the Trinity. They're both just symbols. They're both different symbols.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it's gonna be like. I don't think the announcer is gonna be like the Holy Trinity versus
exactly.
Satan.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be like figurative.
Exactly.
But what if it's what if it's like the sun? So, dragon, or what is it? The sun.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
So Dragon, Luffy, and Ace, the Holy Spirit.
I suppose you could have that, but then you could also,
yeah. So this kind of brings me into my thing. I think why Roger laughed when they were on Laugh Tale is because the One Piece, you either have to be dead because it's like in the underworld. Because why hasn't Emu got it yet? You know. And it's because the fruit, you know, he had the surgery, or they had the surgery. Can't die, you know? He's immortal.
I don't think Emu wants it.
But it's a way of control. It's a way of control. And what do we know about Emu right now?
But here's the thing. I think that Emu doesn't want it nor need it.
Yeah,
because I think that Emu, it's knowledge, but it's also, I would almost believe that whatever poneglyph is there may even have Joy Boys hockey infused into it. You know, whatever information, and that could be like as a deterrent to Emu. Like almost like how as soon as that knot was pulled that had Joy Boys hockey in it,
well, that's what
not even the Gorosei could stand.
Yeah. So here's my thing. I don't think it's Emu's mission, but I think that even if Emu wanted to, can't get it, can't go there, and those things to me seem like, you know, it might not be it, you know, you might have to go to like another, you know, astral plane, death, something that is unobtainable to him and or to them, excuse me. And I just, you know, like why would he laugh? You know, like what's laugh? Like you just did all of that and then you're like, fuck, you know, because like
I think it's just Joy. I just think it's Joy Boy telling him the story about how he stole Emu's bitch, and that's why they left. And he's like, man, I wish I was around to see that, Joy Boy.
I have a theory on that to answer that next week, though. I can give you one on that for next week.
There's a chapter tomorrow, and then it's break week, right? The following.
There's no chapter tomorrow. It's break week this week. Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering why nobody was blowing up Spoiler City. I was like,
no, we're cooked this week, but next week, yeah,
cool.
there's going to be a lot of conversation next week because
Yeah,
I mean,
I saw one thing on Pew Pieces.
I haven't seen anything.
I don't look.
It was one. It was like 3 words. It was like 3 words. I was like, "Fuck."
Oh God!
Oh,
Why do you
No,
do
like-
this to yourself?
No, I know. I didn't. It was like I just like I'd click to open up one of my social medias, and it was like the first thing that like from the screen that just like popped up, and I was like, "Fuck." But it wasn't like the early spoilers that they do, like the list. But I just want to jump into something. I know we're running late, but like I don't know what your guys' time is today. I know you probably want a game, Broker. It's late there.
I'm good for a little bit longer.
I have to go to sleep because I've got a surprise tomorrow for Father's Day that I've not.
Oh yeah.
All I've been informed of is the time I need to be awake.
Okay, so like you guys want to do like 10 minutes?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So I was also thinking, so like I know like a lot of people are into the theory that, or maybe not into it, but I know it's been passed around the community that like emus and Mihawk's eyes are the same, and I never bought into that until obviously the eyes started to mean something, like with Gunko, and maybe Guernica.
Bowler hat guy.
Yeah. And so here's my thing, like, what if Mihawk was given some type of observation, like extreme no, Tim, we were late this week, we didn't have time. What if he had like some type of was given some type of observation? Hawks see better, like the other week I was talking about with you guys, just like the percentile, the colors, the things that they can see better. So like what if the power that Emu gave Mihawk was like the power of some type of future something, but like to the next level, right? And he was just known as Hawk, and I always thought maybe the MI was for like Marine, like Marine Hawk. But what if it was for like I'm you, I'm Hawk, Emu, And so I was like starting to be like, what if there is some like relevance there? But what if Mihawk was just strong enough to get away, break the power, but because it was there, he knows how to use it now? Or what if when he uses it, that's the only time that Emu can, see through him?
And that could be then why he's intentionally going round without a crew, seemingly not acting on, because he doesn't want to give Emu any untoward advantage. I can't afford to go out and have a crew of my own and look for the One Piece, because then Emu will see it and know and be able to go after it himself.
Exactly. And
yeah, I like that a lot.
And it also goes back to my thing where the symbols on his sheath and Emu's chair are the same, are the same type of like hieroglyphic.
He also walks around with a cross on his back because it's his cross to bear. Which
I also realized, that's the same cross in Kuma's church.
Yes, it's exactly the same. So I know some people have said, could that literally have been Mihawk's sword before it was his?
Oh, like because
to give you a Catholicism, yeah, exactly. Because to give Catholicism sort of like another reference in One Piece, the churches used to hide weapons. They used to hide steel from marauders that would come round.
Yeah, well then and also like that plays into the devil. What do you fight a devil with? What do you fight a demon
exactly.
with?
Exactly.
So I've always loved the idea that the double ringed eyes that people get is because they have another will inside of them. They have got multiple wills. That's why when Luffy turns Gear 5, he gets the double ring dies, because it's not only his will, it's also Nika's will exuding. Same with Hakubo and Cavendish. When they're like half and half, you see the double ring dies. You also have like, you know, different characters. Chopper has done it. I'm just gonna say that, you know, a little bit more credence. And so like whenever you have those double ring dies, Zunisha.
No. And I get that, but Emu being inside of him, that could be a, you know, that's a second will right there. I wouldn't say that's, and I'm not saying that I buy into this. I'm just saying that like it, you know, it makes sense. Like that will could be Emu's will, and that plays into the whole Mihawk name, you know.
Yeah, so I've always thought this, and this is just a personal thing. I don't remember who came up with it, because this is not an original thought, so I don't want anyone to be like, "Yo, someone else thought of this." But I think it's because Yoru and Mihawk share the same will in his body. Like, and to make a blackened blade, it's when your will aligns with the will of your sword. That's why Ryuma, when he slayed the dragon, turned his blade black, because his blade was meant to slay dragons, and he became the dragon slayer in that moment. That's why Shisui was black.
He became the right. Ryoma became the God Slayer.
Yeah, but at first he was like, when he slayed the dragon first, and I'm pretty sure that's when he became like black in Shisui, and then he became the god of the blade or something like that.
Oh yeah, the god of the blade, not the God Slayer.
Yeah, so I think that was a title that was given to him, similar to how, like, I think that there was a possibility that the past world's greatest swordsman, like in between Ryuma and Mihawk, was someone who was like had like a devil fruit that was like a model Dracula, and when he killed him with like a cross sword, so like an exorcism type thing, that's when he blackened the blade, because I think that Yoru was forged to kill a vampire, and that's why he was given the name Dracula Mihawk. I don't think that's his original name. I think it's probably Dracula Nerona, or Nerona Mihawk or something like that, because I think that he does have lineage that is part of Emu. But I think that the reason why he has the double ring dies is because of killing a vampire or someone similar. But yeah, that was my whole thought process on it, and that's why eventually the last blade that Zoro will probably blacken is what is it? The one he got from Kuina. Wado Ichimoji. So I think that's the last blade that'll be blackened, because he's only going to be able to blacken it as he's defeating Mihawk, because that was the will that was imbued in it by Kuina to become the world's greatest swordsman. And when he does that, the will will match the user, and he'll be able to blacken it.
And we'll get a sky splitting scene, and it
would
be crazy. Yeah. But that's like, speaking of Zoro, so that's also what, actually, we're running low on time. We will be back on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think we'll continue the chapter, or so and so. We'll touch on the chapter and then talk about it, whatever. But any final thoughts about the chapter?
I was right. That's about it. Oh no, that's no. That was the previous chapter to this. Now, this last one, my favorite bit is the one we didn't talk about, which is whether or not Killingham is part fishman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did not talk about that.
I think he definitely is.
Yeah, I would put that. I'm like 99.
Tim, that was Taku. But go on.
But yeah, I 100% like I'm right there. I think Killingham is a fishman. And I really like Larry's theory about him being the original royalty. I was thinking that it was during the Fishman Revolution 200 years ago when Emmett started destroying Marijois. I was thinking that maybe the fishman who betrayed all of his brethren was given God status for doing so, because there was a reason why Emmett climbed the whole red line and started wrecking everything and then was stopped. I think it was possibly because Killingham turned his brethren in and they killed the person who Emmett was reacting to, similar to how Luffy was reacting, or similar to how Emmett was reacting to Luffy. And so as soon as they killed him, Emmett just stopped entirely. And that's when Saint Saturn was like, yo, we're sending this stag head to be to eventually be, or like they weren't going to destroy it right then and there because they wanted to know how it happened. Because that was my original thought. I also thought it would be really interesting if the only person that got that status was Killingham. It wasn't any of his family. It was just him. Because to me, it looks like he is a ancestor to Hody Jones. He looks exactly like him. And that would be even better. Does. It would be even better because of the fact that Hody Jones is a racist piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then his ancestor is a celestial dragon that is also a self-hating racist
piece of shit.
Yeah. So I thought that would be great.
Do you think that what's her name that can see the future that saw
Madam Charlie?
What?
Yes.
Do you think that Killingham, like in some way, Killingham is like, like they could see the future and like, but what if it was just like one of Killingham's nightmares? Like they're just seeing like a nightmare projected,
I'm all about that. That's nice.
Of like,
that would be actually really interesting.
Of like, cause like, like I don't, like of Straw Hat, like
it could also be a way to literally set the cat amongst the pigeons with people that believe in Luffy. If all of these nightmare versions, because we know there can be more than one, if all these different nightmare versions of Luffy go around to all these different islands and start attacking, to turn the rest of the world that Luffy is allied with him, maybe against him in some way.
Well, yes, because you got to remember that Morgan's is like, this guy's, not a good guy. He's not, and on top of that, on Egghead, Luffy was like, like we've got him. He was basically using them as hostages, right? And the WG got to like hear that, and people were like, yo, this dude's really, messed up. And so like now there's, there could be rhetoric about him being this like really evil person,
Yeah, I mean he's had that rhetoric though for ever. Just because like everyone has looked at him and been like, yo, this guy completely destroyed Dressrosa.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, he didn't. I actually liberated it. That's why there's statues of him.
Alabaster as well, Alabaster in reverse, whereas Luffy is still the enemy and that the world was saved by Smoker.
Yeah, what a joke.
But what rank do we still think Smoker would be if he never got that kudos? Do you know what I mean? He would still be a captain.
I mean, he might have made it to Vice Admiral, but like again, Vice Admirals don't go hard. I'll tell you what, there's nothing more insane. There's nothing more insane than the gap between admirals
and Vice Admiral.
To Garp and then actual Vice Admirals.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't name a single
Suru,
vice
Suru
admiral
as well. Suru's vice admiral, isn't she?
Yeah, but again, Suru is what I would say is out of her prime. Sure, it was her,
Agreed.
Sengoku, and Suru were like, but again, like I've never seen Suru go hard. Never seen it. I've seen Sengoku go hard. I've seen Garp go hard. Never seen Suru go
You've
hard.
never seen
And
Zebek go hard.
that's true, but I've seen him.
Yeah, but
I've seen who he's
I'm being an
gone
asshole.
against. Like Suru went against who? Dofi, and like never beat him.
Yeah, not a lot of people did. Not a lot of people did.
Yeah, but think about Dofi's competition in comparison to Sengoku. Sengoku and Garp are going against Shiki, Roger, Whitebeard, all these other people. Suru is struggling to beat a young Dofi.
No, I feel you.
Garp or Sengoku pack up a young Dofi mid-diff.
Oh, 100%. And guys, it is Father's Day tomorrow. So I'm going to ask you a question. I know Broker's got to run. You want to stay on for a minute?
Yeah, just for a minute. That's fine.
Well, no, I was actually asking Taku because I know you got to go.
Yeah, I got to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Who is the worst father in One Piece?
Yasop.
You're just...
No question. No question. It's Yasop.
So I've thought about this a lot, actually. And without knowing where Garling stands, I'm going to say Judge. Judge is probably the worst father.
Oof.
Tim.
Yo, that's crazy. Saying that is crazy.
Yeah, that's...
Kuma's a wild answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what to say, Tim, to that. But yeah,
I would say
think...
any of Big Mom's baby daddies.
Yeah.
You
know what? I'm gonna say...
what's her
Except,
name? From? Yeah.
Well, yeah. What was his name?
I'm gonna say a good father. Beige.
Beige is a great father.
Beige is a great father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, sorry. Great father for One Piece. If it was the real world, and I'm like, if a Somalian pirate took their baby on board a Somali pirate ship, we would not be saying the same thing. And giving him cigars.
All I know is that the cigar binky goes crazy hard for boss. And the fact that his kids got a 5 o'clock shadow is wild.
Yeah.
It's actually only a binky in the anime. In the manga, it's just a cigar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's bad.
That's wild. That's wild.
So next week we'll definitely, start talking about the chapter again and see where it leads us. It is break week.
Yep.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day, Broker.
Thank you very much. Happy Father's Day to you if you might have one out there you're not aware of.
Probably, unfortunately.
That you know of. It's like you think you're not a father, but no one really knows for sure.
Yeah. I've been like moving stuff around all day, so I had to like do this from the couch today, but that's life, I guess. Yeah, so Wednesday we will be on and
can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh no, it's break. I was like, oh wait, we're gonna talk about the new week, even though I just said that. We just talked about how it's break week.
Yeah. Nope, it'll be break week, so we can dive into whatever.
Exactly.
We can discuss whatever we want to do. As far as like talking points, if anybody has anything. So
definitely. All right, I am NYC Anime Nerd on everything. Come follow me. I do daily updates on anime, every anime there is, bunch of things that are coming out, super stoked for them, as well as One Piece, it just never gets old. It really doesn't. It really doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It really doesn't.
Preach.
All right, guys, happy Father's Day, Brokers. See you. Have a good day.
Cheers, guys. Much love.
Yeah, have a good one.
Bye, Tim.
All right. All right. I will see y'all later.